Welcome back to my channel. I am the out-of-body atheist, and today I am sick. So if I sound really horrible to you, please understand that I sound even worse to myself. Creationists get a lot of things wrong. And I'm not just picking on Christian creationists. In recent memory, some Hindu creationists made complete asses of themselves at a scientific conference. But there's one idea in particular that creationists seem particularly adept at getting wrong, and it's a doozy. It's such a basic concept that I just can't help feeling sorry for them. Creationists seem to think that there are only two possible explanations for the way we find the universe that we live in and the world that we live on. Either one, it's evolution, which, first of all, that's wrong. Evolution doesn't explain the universe. Or number two, it's creation. And I can see how if you're doing that, completely unnecessary black and white dichotomous thinking, it might seem logical that if you disprove one, you prove the other. But you're so off base, creationists, it's not even funny. I'm not even gonna laugh at you because I'm too busy feeling sorry for you. This is not a 50-50 choice at all. Nearly every single culture on Earth has had a creation story. There are over 100 creation stories known on Earth right now. There are even two distinct versions of creation in the Bible itself that contradict each other. So even if we could rule out every single possible naturalistic explanation for how life on Earth got to be the way it is today, you would still have the arduous business of ruling out all of the competing creation stories. You'd actually have to use the same standards of evidence against your own creation story that you use against theirs. That's some bad news, man. I mean for you, not for evolution. You cannot prove a hypothesis is true by tearing down a separate hypothesis. That's not the way science works. Creationism doesn't become scientific if evolution is proved to be untrue. What I mean by that is you only favor a hypothesis after you have been able to discard the null hypothesis. Creationism cannot be the null hypothesis for evolution. Similarly, evolution is not the null hypothesis for creationism. They are two distinct hypotheses, each of which has to have its own null hypothesis if we're going to deal with things scientifically. The null hypothesis of creation is not creation. The null hypothesis of evolution is not evolution. Ruling out Hindu creationism cannot prove that Christian creationism is true. Even if you could rule out every other possible creation story for how the diversity of life on Earth came to be, you still would not have taken your one essential first step towards showing that creationism, your favorite brand, whatever it is true. And the only way you can take that essential step is by coming up with some sort of evidence for your creation story. Only evidence or experimental results can show that creationism is true. And that is really, really bad news for creationists. Over the course of 2,000 years, there's been not one shred of evidence for the truth of your favorite creation story. One really popular line of reasoning that drives me absolutely nuts is a creationist will say, well, isn't it obvious that this is all created? The evidence for creation is the universe itself. It's so clearly created. And yet, when we look at the work of everyone whose job it is to study the natural world, from nuclear chemists to geologists and geomorphologists to limnologists to biologists and geneticists, all of their work contradicts your favorite creation story. If the universe is evidence for creation, why does studying the universe lead us to a different conclusion from the one you prefer? The only way to get to your creation myth is by reading your religious text. If your religious text were true, If your creator were the one true creator and made all of this, we should expect that studying all of this would lead us to the same conclusion that reading your religious book does. And it clearly does not. So, attack evolution all you like. If evolution falls, I'm not going to be convinced of creationism because you still do not have evidence. Knocking down any number of competing theories doesn't prove your theory. That's not how the scientific method works. That's not how rational thought works. Unless you can demonstrate that it's a true dichotomy, that the only possible options are one creation story or one possible theory of evolution, it doesn't matter what other things you knock down. You're missing the point. You have no evidence, and you've had more than enough time to gather it, so what's holding you up? Oftentimes, when I ask for evidence, I'm confronted with, well, my life is evidence for the existence of my God, which I guess somehow proves creationism. Because when I started believing in my God, my life got better. Well, so what? When I stopped believing in gods, my life got better. My anecdote contradicts your anecdote, and since we're just playing around with anecdotes, and the plural of anecdote will never be data, where do we go from here? Your anecdote is pointless, and it clearly is not evidence. Creationists aren't the only ones attacking evolution because it conflicts with their preferred ideology. The reason racists and bigots don't like the theory of evolution is that it contradicts the idea that white people are more evolved or more advanced or a different race from Black people. The whole idea of race has been largely discredited in the fields of biology and anthropology. Culture is a useful way of differentiating between groups of humans because our cultures can be quite different, and it is good to study that. But race? I'm sorry, scientifically there is more genetic variation within the race categories than there is difference between the race categories. They're shitty categories. No scientist in their right mind in the current state of evolution and anthropology would consider for a moment using the current categories for race. They're shit. Currently, the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C. is confronted by an executive order from our racist-in-chief, Donald Trump, who's been doing racist shit since before his daddy died, who has a legal record of getting in trouble and getting fined for doing racist shit. And yet, for some reason, we're not allowed to call the orange ball of shit that is Trump a racist. I'm sorry. If you've been denying apartments to people since you were in your 20s on the basis of their race, I don't know what else to call you. I went online and I actually found an excerpt from the executive order that I'm going to read to you that deals specifically with the Smithsonian. They are saying the quiet parts out loud. Once widely respected as a symbol of American excellence and a global icon of cultural achievement, the Smithsonian Institute has, in recent years, come under the influence of a divisive, race-centered ideology. They're laying it on pretty thick. This shift has promoted narratives that portray American and Western values as inherently harmful and oppressive. Oh, I'm sorry. You don't like the fact that we were founded as a slaving nation? There were slaves here before we were a country, and that bothers you? Well, maybe. We shouldn't have kept slaves. For example, the Smithsonian American Art Museum today features The Shape of Power, Stories of Race and American Sculpture, an exhibit representing that societies, including the United States, have used race to establish and maintain systems of power, privilege, and disenfranchisement. So speaking of creationists, there was a whole separate Bible for Black people during the slave times. They figured if Black people are going to learn how to read, we might as well give them a Bible where we've taken out all the bits that could be construed as anti-slavery so they can read this Bible and just read the parts that say, hey, stay in your place, you slaves. These white people deserve to have power over you. I wonder if Trump knows about the slave Bibles. Probably not. He hasn't spent a minute of his life concerned about anything but his own self-interest, and promotes the view that race is not a biological reality, but a social construct, stating race is a human invention. Oh, well, shit. We can't say things that are true. Race is a human invention. We don't use race to describe any other animals. We talk about subspecies, but Homo sapiens sapiens is already a subspecies. There is no useful biological division between the races of humans. And I'm sorry if the facts of evolution and anthropology and genetics and all the rest of biology get in the way of your bigoted ideology and your desire to erase all of the women and black people from US history. Holy shit. I can't believe we're here right now, and so many people are okay with this. We are deporting legal immigrants for exercising their free speech right now. The Trump administration's bigoted bullshit, unfortunately, is not limited to screwing around with our museums. They have also fired tens of thousands of scientists and support staff in all sorts of American institutions that used to keep us on top of things from a research perspective. We used to be a world-renowned country when it comes to research and scientific advancement. But what I see now is that there's a freaking brain drain. Europe is scalping our scientists right now. They're saying, hey, come do science in Europe. We won't shit on you ideologically. We'll let you keep doing your science. We'll fund you. And that shit's gonna work. This whole way of life that we have, that is from our exceptional American stature, and we're shitting on that because of a bunch of old, rich, white, racist sacks of shit who are willing to throw everything we worked for down the freaking toilet because they don't like the idea that all the humans in the country should be equal. Research that has been disallowed by our country includes anything about race, anything about sex, anything about gender, anything about sexuality. This is huge. That's all of us. We're going to see the impacts of this in medicine almost immediately. There have also been notable attempts to erase women and people of color and homosexuals from American history on American websites. Hell, they went after the Enola Gay, an airplane that has, as far as I know, no sexual preference because it's an airplane. They went after it because it was called gay. They're letting their algorithms loose on our history. They're not even checking to make sure the algorithm's not doing incredibly stupid shit. And they're doing this in the name of their insanely bigoted ideology. I don't know how any thinking human being can see this shit and not say, oh shit, these are bigots in charge now. I've included a link to the full executive order where Trump goes after the Smithsonian Museum in the description of the video. This is some serious shit. We are going to lose our health care. We are going to lose our scientific supremacy, and with that, our economic supremacy. We're going to lose human rights. And I cannot believe that there are still so many Americans who are going to put up with that until it hurts you personally. It is going to hurt you personally. By the time it does, it might be too late to do shit about it. If you see your neighbors going down, that's a pretty good sign that you might go down too, you self-centered pricks. I've been the out-of-body atheist. Make some good trouble, guys.